watching Canadian Muslim news on Muslim Network TV from Toronto, Ontario. I'm Katherine Bullock. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace. Today, an interview with Talha Ahmed, who is the CEO of PICO Canada, about a trip this weekend by the Raptors and the Leafs to London, Ontario in a program to combat hate. But first, some news headlines. A 148-year-old Toronto church converted to mosque by Uyghur Turks. Mount Carmel Church, now called the Islamic and Cultural Centre of the Canadian Uyghur Turks, was built in 1873. Canadian Uyghurs will use the centre's services to help people become reacquainted with the customs and culture of East Turkestan. Robin Wilkie, the previous partner of Mount Carmel Church, attended the ceremony. He said he's glad that the building is still a place of worship, even if it is people from a different faith. The building was purchased for $610,000 and will be soon open for prayers. Canadian Catholic bishops promised $30 million on Truth and Reconciliation Day. Catholic bishops in Canada declared that they would provide $30 million over a period of 5 years in an effort to support residential school survivors. This follows the apology by the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops for their role in running the notorious Indigenous residential schools. The money will be directed towards initiatives and programs aimed to reconcile and heal residential school survivors. The Assembly of First Nations welcomes the statement, but question its sincerity. The Church had previously promised to pay $29 million in 2005. Documents received by the CBC showed that the money was instead spent on administration, loans, and other expenses. National Chief Roseanne Archibald of the AFN calls for concrete action and changed behaviour as the path towards reconciliation. Alberta NDP opposition calls for door-to-door immunizations. As vaccine hesitancy reigns high in Alberta, the NDP opposition proposes a door-to-door immunization program to vaccinate more people against COVID-19. The campaign will use a government grant and the help of trusted community members to roll out an effective program. This comes as the province reported over 5,000 cases of COVID during the weekend, with ICUs reaching critical capacities. This is the 11th time the ICU has overflowed with COVID cases. Women banned from Kabul University. Afghan women are indefinitely banned from attending lectures or teaching at Kabul University. Vice-Chancellor Mohammad Ashraf Gairat tweeted that this was due to a shortage of female lecturers and an anti-Islamic environment. He mentioned that there will be a plan for the university to accommodate women once again, but has not released any details or a date. The news is worrying, following reports of women being forced from workplaces by militants and being beaten while protesting an all-male government back in August. After the takeover, the Taliban allowed women to continue their education so far as the classrooms were segregated and in accordance with their interpretation of Islamic law. That's it for the news. And now our interview with Talha Ahmed. With us today, Talha Ahmed, CEO of PICO Canada, about a major sporting event coming to London, Ontario. Welcome to the show, Talha.
Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, thank you. Thanks for joining us. So the big news, the Raptors and the Leafs, both giants in their respective fields, going to London, Ontario on this coming weekend to do some events to combat hate. Now, PICO is the sponsor, I understand. So tell us how PICO got involved in such an exciting event.
Yeah, this was definitely a couple of weeks in the making. You know, we were having conversations with the leadership team at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, the team that obviously owns the Raptors and Leafs and amongst other teams. As we were talking to them about, you know, what can they do to combat Islamophobia and hate in all its forms. So the conversation started with John Wiggins, who's the VP of DNI at the Toronto Raptors. And unfortunately, after the events that took place on June 6th this summer, reached out to John and said, John, you know, the Raptors and Leafs have probably the biggest brand in Canada. And when they talk, people listen. And sports unites people, irrespective of race, color, religion, ethnicity, what part of life you come from. We all cheer for the same team. We all boo for the same teams. So I started having conversations with John, and John said, "What can we do to really talk about Islamophobia, and how can we play a big part in this big conversation that needs to happening?" So one of the things that we landed on was, "Hey, why don't we go to London with the team and do something for the community over there?" Obviously we could do something here in Toronto and have an impact over in London, but it made sense to be physically in London to connect with the community directly, face to face, and be in person. So that's how the conversation really started, and I applaud the leadership team at both the Leafs and Raptors to step up and tackle Islamophobia, and like I said, hate in all its forms.
It seemed like a very big and rare event to have both the Raptors and the Leafs going. Is it?
Yeah, it's quite rare, right? Obviously, given the world that we live in today, all these restrictions with COVID-19, for the team to be there. So for the Raptors, it'll be an open practice. So you'll see all the players practice with the coach, and then obviously play scrimmage, so red team versus white team. And for the Maple Leafs, it's the alumni that are going to be there. And they've listed out a handful of alumni that will be in London this weekend playing as well.
So you mentioned that the goal, you had reached out to ask these two brands to help combat Islamophobia and all forms of hate, and going to London where the communities are, obviously still devastated by what happened. How do you see such an event as helping contribute to combating Islamophobia and all forms of hate?
I think it's more having conversations, right? These are not easy conversations to have. These are tough conversations to have, but these are the right conversations to have, right? And for us, it was really let's use the power of sports to start the conversation of tackling Islamophobia. Obviously, when we all woke up and read about what happened in London, we were all shocked. We didn't expect that to happen here in Canada, a diverse country, especially in Ontario, probably one of the most diverse provinces in Canada as well. For something like that to happen, and I think when we saw the pictures of the family, I think we all related to it, right? We all saw ourselves in it. Immigrants to the country, just coming for a brighter future, and just seeing ourselves in it. I think everyone stood up and wanted to make a difference, and start having conversations with all different organizations and business partners at the table to tackle Islamophobia. So for us, as a relief and development organization, we've got a very strong partnership with the Raptors and Leafs. And like I said, the power of sports unites us all. So that was a really good platform to start these conversations.
Is there much Islamophobia in the sports industry itself? Like, did you have to go and do some sensitivity training with the teams first?
I think the team has been having those conversations. Again, I can't answer to that. I think that's more within their business realm. But I know a lot of organizations have reached out to advocacy organizations to help them understand, the basis of Islamophobia and how they can educate their employees. And I encourage everyone, right, to reach out to organizations that provide that skill set and that knowledge, to reach out to them and really educate your employee base.
So if PICO Canada is focused on development, as you mentioned, can you connect for us the dots between development and hosting an event in London, which is a sports event to combat Islamophobia?
Yeah, PICO Canada is a Muslim international non-government organization, right? We're the world's fastest growing Muslim organization in the world. So for us, we've made a promise to our donors that half the donations that we raise every year will be spent here in Canada. Obviously, that comes with development work internationally, disaster relief internationally. But here in Canada, there's different types of work that needs to be done. So for us, putting on an event is not necessarily putting on an event. It's more the development side of what needs to be done in Canada, right? The issues that rely here are very different to the issues that rely internationally. So for us, it's very important to take a step and be the charity that talks about this. And our official title for this weekend is official community outreach partner.
The press release that you put out announces that there's going to be an infrastructure investment and a focus on mental health. Now, I don't know if we have to wait till the weekend to find out the details, but if there's anything you can share about what those two things mean and why and the importance of them.
Yeah, the infrastructure piece is an investment that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment are making, so I can't speak to that. That's something that they're going to announce themselves. The mental health component is something that PICO Canada is investing in. So we've made a promise to the London community that we will provide mental health support through partner organizations. And we've been having conversations throughout this whole process of putting on this event together with the London community organizations as well as the family. So one of the big takeaways for us was the fact that not just the family, but the community needs mental health support given something so drastic and major that happened that, I think will take a long, long time to recover from. And they need some like a safe space to talk about it. So that's our investment to the community, and inshallah that can help them get through this major, tragic that took place in the community.
So you'll be sending counselors and caseworkers. What will that look like on the ground?
Yeah, so we'll be working with a partner organization, and we'll be funding one full-time counselor for a whole year to provide support to the community, to the family, and anyone else that needs support, both Muslims and non-Muslims.
Have you had any sense then of the most significant difficulties that you think the community there are facing in the face of this tragedy? I mean, that I don't quite know how to phrase this question, but if there's a need for counselling, what are the main issues that the people are trying to deal with?
I think it's more, honestly, Sister Kathy, I think it's more day-to-day routine, right? The simple act of just going for a walk in the evening, right? And unfortunately, the family was murdered by a domestic terrorist. So for them to have just counseling, just to get back to their day-to-day routine. I go for jogs every night, and I'm at the intersection, and I'm just looking over my shoulder now. I think it's just things like that people are also wary of, and are now starting to think like it could happen anywhere, which is an unfortunate situation, like I said, for a country like Canada to have that sort of thought process. So the community is just asking for support. How do we get back to our day-to-day life? Obviously, with schools now open, kids going back to school, parents also have a sense of fear and always, worried about their kids going to school if anything happened to them. So it's just honestly just getting back on their feet and just getting through this.
Well, I have a similar feeling sometimes when you go out and you're walking across the street and a truck passes by and you think, uh-oh, and it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously this is needed, especially in London, but elsewhere as well. So thank you for taking leadership on this. We really commend you for it. And I'm sure the weekend is going to be very fun and exciting, and everyone who attends is just going to feel very happy to be part of such an event. But we do understand there's this tragedy behind it. So thank you for your leadership and forward looking and joining us on the show. Talha Ahmed, CEO, PICO Canada.
Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
Wa alaikum assalam. That's it from us. You've been watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Stay tuned for our next episode. Stay safe and God bless.